So, welcome everyone. It's me, Kirk Mastin, here at Mastin Labs. Today we're going to be talking about editing family sessions and finding the right preset, the right color, the right look for those precious family sessions and making your clients over the moon with what you're delivering. So I've got a bunch of images here from the community. I'll be editing as many as I can today. If you have any questions, just put them in the messages or in the comments. Casey will flag me down and I'll answer them for you. So let's get started. Real quickly, I'm going to be using our Mastin Labs 3-step workflow where you apply the preset, adjust exposure, and then adjust white balance and tint. And it's important you do it in that order to get the best results. If you want to know more, we've got a ton of other videos where we dive deep into that 3-step workflow. Okay, so here we are. We got our first image. This is by Luvia Phillips, I believe, even though the last name isn't on here. There's only one person that I keep seeing really great work from who's named Luvia, so maybe I'm wrong. But thank you for sending this in. And like I said at the very beginning, it's really about like matching the vibe to the session. All of the editing is roughly the same. It's always going to follow the 3-step workflow, and what we make matches. It's based on and matches film, and technically, no film was ever really specifically for a type of photography. Well, actually, I take that back. Some films were, but it's really about matching the mood to the image that makes it all work. So I can't say there's like one film or one pack that's specifically for family photos. It's more like, depending on the type of family photo, you will find a pack that matches it and then a film within that pack that's like a perfect fit. Let me show you. So on this image, we've got a family in kind of lighter clothing against a lighter background. It looks kind of underexposed. That's totally fine. It's a raw image. And this is the kind of image where, I first need to determine, is it trying to be dark and moody or more light and airy or something in the middle? This feels kind of like it's trying to be light and airy just by what the people are wearing. I'm seeing the light clothing. It's kind of backlit. If you were to just bump up exposure, you can see that it works well as a light and airy image just because the lighting and the contrast and everything is very even in this kind of subdued light, even though the original image, is really dark. So I'm going to go with kind of a light and airy approach. Now I've got, from that main concept, I've got kind of two big directions to go in. I could go with, say, Fuji Original, which is like, it's got it's got Fuji 400H in it, for example, which is like the king of light and airy look, that pastel look. I could go in that direction, or I could get something out of the Fuji Push pack, which is still that Fuji look, but with more intensity, more punch, more color, more vibrance. So it's going to be either one of those packs. This image is kind of subdued. There isn't like a lot of emotion in it. It's just kind of very peaceful. So I'm going to go with probably Fuji Color Original, and I'm going to grab Fuji 400H out of here and start my edit. So Fuji 400H, step 1, apply the preset. Step 2, I'm going to adjust exposure. I definitely think it should come up. Everything that we make is modeled after film, and something really cool about film is that it's very hard to overexpose film to the point where anything becomes pure white, which means you can really bring the midtones up and the entire image up without anything blowing out, and the same happens in Lightroom or Capture One when you're using our products. So I can bring the exposure up pretty darn high and then kind of even it out with a tone profile like all soft to bring out even more of those highlights without anything even approaching pure white. So we've gone from a very kind of subdued and slightly underexposed image to now a very evenly kind of lit, lighter, higher key image. So I hope you're following me. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comments and I'll keep going. All right, so now we're getting into I think the most important part, which is the white balance and tint. I just did an amazing video on just tint. That's how important it is. But I'll go through it a little bit on each photo here. So looking at this image, I can tell that it's too cool. So I'm just going to keep raising the temperature slider to where this neutral white is just right on the edge of being too cool. It's just like a little bit warmer, but not like super warm, because then I've gone too far. Next, I'm going to look around again at these neutral colors. So neutral being white, gray, or black. And I'm going to see if there's any kind of red, or not red, magenta, it's very important, magenta or green tint in it. And that, once corrected, is going to make the skin tones perfect. So looking at this, I would say, if anything, her shirt is a little bit, just a tiny bit green. So I'm going to add just a little bit of, I'm going to move the tint slider towards magenta just a little bit. So it's at plus 16, and I went to like plus 20, maybe not even that far, maybe like right there. And now I can check this guy's face. It's kind of out of focus, but I can go, before and after tint and see if it was the right. Yep, it's perfect. It's so subtle, but it's like, it makes a difference between an edit that's like 90% perfect and 100% perfect is the tint slider. Again, I can't stress enough. Go see one of the last videos I did on tint. It will change your life. That's a really important video. But anyway, back to this. Here is a very basic before and after, using just the most basic workflow possible around Fuji 400H. And you can see it's nice and light and pastel. I could go use a few of the other tools that we have. For example, I think this image would benefit from lens correction. So if I click on the lens correction button, you can see the edges of the image, they're more even now. They're not kind of vignetting and dark around the edges. And you could even see the image kind of warp out. It's actually flattening an image that is slightly rounded from the shape of the lens itself. That is where the distortion comes from. It's kind of wild, but if you look at your lens, the top is actually like slightly rounded, and it will bend your photo depending on the focal length you're shooting. So like a really wide angle lens, super wide angle lens, will really bend your photo and really create a lot of distortion. Whereas like a 50, will have hardly any distortion, and even an 85 will have hardly any distortion. This was a 50, it had a little distortion. So this is before lens correction, and that's after. I just think it looks better. So there is your final photo. I'm going to duplicate this really quickly and just show you the other direction I could have gone in, which is with Fuji Color Pushed. So just reset it real quick. So the other one I probably would have used would have been like 160 NS pushed one stop. It's a nice starter. Or yeah, I think that would be nice. So 160 NS pushed one stop is one of my favorites. Again, I'm going to apply the preset, increase the exposure. I'm going to do the same exact steps. Use all soft, kind of even it out. I'm going to go in and increase the temperature. I know I'm kind of just zooming through the three-step workflow, but I've done like 200 of these videos, and if you've seen any of them, you are probably sick to death of that workflow, but it is the way to go. So that's temperature. I haven't touched tint yet. Let me just zoom in. The push films have a little bit of intentional magenta in the highlights, so you kind of have to take that into account. Again, I've done a video just about the Fuji push pack, so check that out if you want to know more about that. But the tones look pretty good. I might add just a tiny bit of green. I mean, just the tiniest touch. And then to make them really even, I'm going to do lens correction on. So they're even Steven. And let's take a look at the two versions, if it will load. Come on. All right. So let me make this bigger so you can really see them. And this doesn't need to be so big. Okay, here we are. We have Fuji 160 NS pushed one stop on the left, and on the right, we've got Fuji 400H, just a normal edit. You can see they're very different vibes, and it wasn't until I edited the other one with Fuji Push that you could see how cool and neutral Fuji 400H is, but that is just the look of it. Some people prefer the more vibrant, punchy, warm look of a pushed Fuji film, any of the Fuji films, and some people prefer the more lighter, ethereal, pastel, muted look of box speed, like not pushed Fuji film. It's up to you. Let me know which one you like more. It really comes into play if I had like a grid of like 20 images, the exact same images edited with both of these presets in a grid, and you could just see it like as a vibe, like on an Instagram page, like the whole thing. You would really start to see the mood and the feeling of the two different ways you could go with it. So I hope that is helpful. All right, let me get all my stuff set up again here, and I'll go to the next image. I think I should pick an image that is quite a bit different. Yeah, this might work. I want to go to like dark and moody. So I want to go to the other direction. I'm going to try to find something. All right, this is pretty good. This is a mood. This too is kind of nice and dark and moody, but I think this is going to be perfect. Okay, dark and moody. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? You hear thrown around all the time. There are technical things that I believe make something a dark and moody photo. So it is the lighting. Usually the lighting is already dark and moody. You see there's no backlighting here at all. It's just very subdued. All the tones, everything are darker. The baby is wearing white, but it's not like they're prancing around in a field with like a flowing white dress in the wind. Also, just the mood of the photo. It's literally dark is part of it. Moody is part of it. Whereas light and airy is like light, like everything is light tones, and airy as in it's airy. It's like there's movement, there's flowiness to it. There's air, there's room. It's not like this mood that's kind of like internal and intimate. There you go. And the lighting, and there's other technical stuff, wardrobe, lighting, body language, all that stuff. All right. So with a dark and moody look, we're going to stay away from the Fuji packs. They are not for that look. Instead, I'm going to go to either Portra Original or Portra Pushed or Ilford. Those are your dark and moody ones. And sometimes Fuji Color Everyday can kind of cross that border into dark and moody. I'm going to just go deep into dark and moody land with Portra Pushed. So these are Portra films that have been pushed in development, and they get a very distinctive, stylized look where you get some shifting in the shadows towards like red or brown. This has become a very popular style in general for presets for many people, but it also increases the contrast, and it can affect the highlights, sometimes crushing them a little bit with some of the Portra films when you do that, particularly Portra 800. Yeah. What it comes down to is that it's dark and moody. So let's go. Let's do, I don't know. My favorites are Portra 160 and Portra 160 push 2 stops. Without even adjusting this like kind of severely underexposed photo, if you do, and it's by Ashley Newman. I love this photo. I've edited it in another video. I love it. If I just go over Portra 160 without touching anything, this is totally not the edit I want, but just look at the tones as you push 1 stop versus 2 stops. Look at, like, it goes from, kind of reddish shadows to like extremely reddish shadows. Portra 400, that goes away a little bit. This is just darker in general. And you get these, and then Portra 800 push 2 stops, you get almost like purple shadows. It's pretty extreme. This is just a demonstration of what happens to kind of the shadow areas when you push film, like real analog film. And now let's edit. He's probably waiting. Okay, let's do Portra 160, push to 1 stop. Going to increase the exposure. I'm going to say right now, this is going to be a tricky photo because her hair, this blackness up here, just blends in with the background. It's almost like you cut out her head out of the photo, or it's just gone, or she's like, I don't know, like got a hood on or something. We'll fix that in a second. But I want my exposure right about here. I don't want to go too much higher. I mean, I could go way up if I wanted. Actually, that doesn't look too bad actually, but I want to keep it dark and moody. So we're gonna keep it like around here. Now I'm gonna go to my temperature and tint. It needs to be quite a bit warmer. As far as tint goes, again, I always say this a million times over, look for a neutral and adjust from there. Looking at this baby, and I know her sleeve is not a neutral, so that's a tough one. Sometimes tree bark can be very close to gray, but I'm gonna have to kind of wing it on this one. I'm gonna say actually it looks correct already. Maybe a tiny bit magenta. So I'm gonna add just a few tiny touches of green, maybe a little more warmth. And you have a very basic kind of dark and moody edit. I'm gonna play with other tools in here to kind of show you where you can go with this. So I think it needs lens correction badly. There we go. Kind of evens it out, unless you like the vignetting. I mean, some people love vignetting. I used to really love it. Not that it's bad. I still sometimes love it. But I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to see if maybe all hard or all soft is going to get me closer to what I want. These are kind of broad strokes with adjusting contrast. Let me go through tone profile for a second. So tone profiles come from the actual Fuji Frontier scanner. They're meant to solve tricky lighting situations. For example, someone silhouetted against a bright sky. You could do all soft. It's going to bring in detail in the shadows and the highlights. You also have other things like highlight soft. What does that do? Well, I believe it was originally invented, and I swear, I don't know. I'd have to check with Fuji about this. I believe highlight soft was invented to deal with wedding dresses because they would be just like pure white when they did the scan, and highlight soft just knocks down those highlights in white or, really bright things. And I use it all the time. And then you've also got things like shadow soft. So say you shot some film and you want to open up the shadows a little bit. Well, on the scanner, you could hit shadow soft and it would open up the shadows just a little bit. And then you've got a combination of all these tools. So on this one, I think I'm going to just do like highlight soft and just knock the baby down. Totally came out wrong. I would never knock a baby down. But that's about right. And looking at this a little more, I might want to go a little warmer. Just a little bit warmer. And now it's looking a little green, so I'm going to back off on that, go back to where it was. I think it was, right about there. All right, folks, there you go. That is a super basic dark and moody look. In fact, I'll make it a little moodier. We still have the problem of the complete blackness of the hair where you don't see a face at all. I'm not quite sure what to do about this. I think I would, I would just grab, a brush and dodge it. There are so many other fancy brushes out there. You probably own all these brushes that came with a pack or something at some point from somebody. But basically, the concept is dodging and burning. It's a slight exposure bump. I like to add in blacks too, just a little bit of blacks. And what you're going to do is take your brush and you're going to just kind of alternate between, where is it? Okay. You're just going to brush it in here. If you brush and then hover over the little dot, it'll show you like what you brushed. Kind of helpful. And you can also do, you can hit Option, and you see it turns into a negative sign. You can unbrush stuff. So you don't ever want halos. Those look really terrible. But now that we've got kind of a basic dodge, and I just made a brush, just like that. In Lightroom, you can then collapse it and control the power of that brush. So now I'm going to just increase the power of that brush. It just takes all the little bits and bobs down here, just smushes them together into relative amounts, and then you control that relative amount. Super exciting stuff. And at that point, I just bring it up to where I can see some detail in her hair. I know it's supposed to be dark. And then I'm going to hit option, and I'm going to brush away this little halo because no one likes halos. They're bad. In fact, you can tell really old photography, like pre-digital photography, by halos because it was so inexact. Not dissonant. That's just how it was. And that is my final edit. I don't know. Yeah, I think it looks great. I think this looks super good in black and white too, but we'll cross that bridge later. Okay, we have a question.
Yeah, actually, speaking of black and white, we have somebody asking to see HP5 edit. Go for HP5.
Oh, okay, so who's asking?
I can't pronounce the name. Giacomo, maybe?
Giacomo is asking for an HP5 edit from Ilford. Great choice. That's a beautiful, beautiful look. So I'm going to do two things for you. I'm just going to put Ilford on this because I think this image works so well as a black and white, and black and white is so underappreciated. Why don't we shoot more black and white as wedding photographers and family photographers? I don't know. It's crazy. It's so classic. So here's HP5. I'm actually going to bring down exposure just a little bit. I like a little moodier HP5, but it's just, that's a mood too. Look at the grain. This beautiful grain. It's perfect. If that's too much grain for you, we have a medium format version too, which is medium format size grain. So maybe that's a little better. But the modeling on like her hand and on the highlights and the shadows is just gorge. I love it. Okay. And the frog in my throat loves it too. Let's do a black and white edit for you, Giacomo, from scratch. What would look cool? They're too happy for black and white. We'll come back to them. That's sweet. It's a sweet photo. I think this would be a killer photo in black and white. Let's do this one. Okay, so the reason I'm picking this one in black and white, and to kind of get back to like family sessions, and matching mood and preset with image, is I believe black and white works really well with very simple images. So if you're editing a family session, you have some kind of tighter portraits or portraits that have more kind of extreme lighting situations like this, not extreme, but just very like dramatic. That is where black and white shines. Black and white does not shine when an image, well, it never looks bad, right? It's classic. I just don't think it shines as well when an image is either far away, like this, or very complicated, like this. Like all the detail, it's just too much. Like, yeah, you can make a black and white, but without that color information, it kind of gets lost, like what I'm looking at. I need her yellow shirt to give my eye something to look at. Black and white, you're working with like shape and light, not color. So Giacomo, I would use HP5 on an image like this, where you have very definite shapes and some dramatic lighting, like that backlight behind the baby. So here's HP5. And then I would increase exposure. Temperature and tint doesn't really matter in black and white. I mean, it does affect the final toning a little bit, but like I've always said, as long as the underlying photo has like, in general, a correct white balance, like within a 30% swing either way, like kind of correct-ish, you're going to get the best results from your black and white. Now, if the original image was like Smurf blue, like super blue, it's going to kind of jack up your black and white look when you apply it. Black and white film actually reacts to color. It's crazy. It actually does. It's color sensitive. The results are black and white, but different colors produce different tones. And if the original image is super blue, then it's going to activate the parts of the black and white film that are reactive to that blue color. And actually, okay, to get really technical, I believe black and white film is only super reactive to red, and they have different varying amounts of reactivity to red in particular. But anyway, If your original image is either too cool or too warm, it's going to affect the end result in black and white. Whether you use like out of the box, like Lightroom black and white presets, which are just so boring, or you use something more stylized like HP5, then it will kind of make a difference, that underlying part. Okay, back to the edit. So I'm not going to touch temperature and tint. For example, if this was Oompa Loompa orange or Smurf blue, you would have like, well, there's some change. You can see a change there, or if we went all the way to the other side, it does swing around and change the image. But I'm just going to leave it as shot. So there's your basic edit, Giacomo, HP5, exposure bump. I would actually go in and maybe do all hard, just to give it a little more depth. Or no, I like it. Maybe highlight hard. Yeah, there we go. Make the whites white, like really kind of pop, and that looks good. So that is my edit. Actually, I'm going to bring it down with those brighter whites. Yeah, like that, right? Like that is good. HP5 is great. The entire Ilford pack is fantastic. In fact, I love HP5, but my favorite is Pan F, and it's a totally different mood. It's much darker. You get that Pan F on there, bring it up a little bit. That is like a nice punchy black and white that just has really nice fall off. I love it. Thank you for your question. Okay, let's move on down the line. Love this photo. Oh, wait. This is by Irina. I don't know your last name, but Irina, thank you for sending it in. This image is by Kim Borrego. Kim wanted Ektar or gold. Great choices. Okay, so let's go over both of those choices. I think one choice is better than the other, but I think they both could work. So first thing I'm going to do, just because this is just how I am. I'm a little bit OCD for real. I'm going to straighten it and kind of bring it in and just kind of get the crop to where I can do this. So I like a kind of a fatter, like upward rectangle. So I like to crop 4:3. It's kind of a medium format look. It's the same shape as a magazine cover, and I just love that shape vertically. So I'm just going to do that, straighten it, and now we're going to go. Okay, so you wanted Ektar or gold. Both of those exist within the Adventure Everyday pack, one of our top selling packs, maybe our top selling pack. It's either that or Fuji Original. Adventure Everyday has everything in it. It's crazy. Ektar, maybe our most famous popular look right now, which is super colorful. Then we've got Gold 200, which is kind of a more neutral, nostalgic look with really unique kind of jade green shadows and really warm skin tones, and they play off each other in a really nice way. And then it's got Tri-X 400, which is like maybe one of the most famous black and white films of all time. No, it definitely is the most famous black and white film of all time. I'm just going to say that any photographer should know what Tri-X is. So why is it called Tri-X? Just a little quick aside. One of the reasons is the grain is X-shaped. It's shaped like an X, the actual silver, the grain in the actual film, whereas T-Max has T-shaped grain and it's a more modern film grain. So the more you know, and then the star flies over and it's like PBS special. Okay, 3 great films. So Kim wanted either Ektar or gold. I'm going to say gold is going to look better on this because Ektar is a little bit too exuberant, which is a really funny word they use to describe economics, which is really bizarre to me. Total aside, exuberant. It's a little too much. It's a little too extra. So it's not bad. In fact, I think just Ektar with a slight temperature decrease, about to there, and maybe a tiny exposure. No, I don't want to go up in exposure. I like the midtones where they are. That is not bad. But if I make a virtual copy and then do a gold edit, I think it just feels a little better. So here is Ektar. Okay, there's Ektar. And as I roll over gold, it kind of mutes it and really makes it feel just about perfect. I would do gold 200 with actually a little bit of temperature bump up. Oh no, actually no, I think it was perfect. It was exactly how I wanted. Tint looks pretty good. I see that this blanket over here is a little bit magenta, so I'm going to go down towards green just a few points. And that is a great gold edit. I'll compare these two for you. Okay, so we've got gold 200 on the left and Ektar 100 on the right. For a family session like this, I personally believe that the mood in gold 200 is really classic. It's a film that it's a cheap film. It was made to be inexpensive. It's a drugstore film, and it was used in a lot of, I'm 43. I would say if you're between the ages of 35 and up, your parents probably took pictures of you on gold 200 if you lived in North America. So this look kind of has a hook in your heart a little bit. Like you see it and it reminds you of your own photos. And I found it to be a very powerful look for family photography for that reason. Like delivering photos with a gold 200 look will make your clients very happy. You can't go wrong with it, essentially. So it works really well here. Ektar does not look bad either, but Ektar is more for something like this, like that's like people are just like really excited and there's a lot of energy. They are too. They're playing with their kids and that's really cool. But I think overall, a more muted gold 200 look is better for this. But both are good. And you know what's so cool? Kim, if you own the Adventure Everyday Pack, you have both. So you can do either one you want. Yes, hope that helps. If there are any questions, please let me know. I have time to do probably one or two more. And then I need to wrap it up. Let's see here. This is nice. This is really nice. Okay. Let me see. What have I not covered? What pack have we not really dove into? I think Fuji Everyday would be good to do. I'll do this photo, and then I think I'm going to do Fuji Everyday on this one. And curious what's going on here. This is a tough one with that flare. Not that that scares me. I've edited everything that exists. I've edited every photo that's ever been shot, and there's always a way. All right, see if I can fit a Mandalorian quote in this next edit. Yeah, this is the way. Okay, so this photo by Brittany Mitchell, she asked for gold 200. Not a bad choice. I think that's good. Let's do that real quick. I think that's not a bad choice at all. It's kind of a sweet moment. It's not like super high energy. It feels like a nostalgic family photo, and I think that matches really well. So this is before, that's after. I mean, that's a pretty quick one-click edit. Although one-click edits are moonshots. Like, don't ever expect a one-click edit. That is a sickness that needs to be like stamped out in the photography world. Super easy way to sell a preset, but it's total BS. Unless the preset just covers your photo with so much garbage that it doesn't even matter if you got exposure or white balance or anything right. It like doesn't matter. But it does matter because we're photographers and we train and we're professionals and we don't take the easy way out. We take the professional way. So with that being said, that's gold 200. That's a pretty much one-click edit. I'm going to increase exposure a little bit. Not too much. I kind of like the darker look on this. And as far as like white balance and tint goes, it's perfect. Nothing to do. I wouldn't touch the tones. Maybe highlight soft. No. I like it. Lens correction. Yeah, sure. Okay, that made a tiny difference. And, this has nothing to do with presets, but I'm just going to crop it the way I like, which is a little bit less tall. And that is my final edit on that. That's a beautiful photo. That is a really, really nice photo. I think this is a great example of Gold 200 as well, because you have, or let me show both photos again. You can see how the greens go kind of this darker jade green. It's a really beautiful green color. And yet all the other tones, like the blues, skin tones, everything else, they look really good. And you have this like really nice opposition between the cooler kind of jade greens and the warm skin tone. And I believe there's like two types of contrast. There's tonal contrast, which is like, black and white and gray and how they kind of, meet up and how different they are from each other. That's like contrast that we're all very aware of. And then I believe there's contrast in color, like the color wheel. So the further you kind of work your way around that wheel and you get, well, I'm probably blowing this, but the idea is that with those cooler greens and the warmer skin tones, there's a contrast in the color that you're seeing in the image, and it makes it more, I think, exciting and dynamic for the brain. Without making that shift, it's a really nice raw file. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it's just perfectly shot. It's good, but it kind of all mushes together. Whereas here, you start to have that difference in color. And it's a really nice complementary mix in gold, which is why I love it. So, anyway, that is my talk on that. And Brittany Mitchell, this is the way. Gold 200 is the way. All right. Okay, one more. We're going to call it good. I was going to do this one. Trying to kind of find the perfect one for Fuji color every day. The right vibe, so to speak. I think a fall one would be really good. I think this one would be great for Fuji every day. All right, so Drew Lederman, this is for you. Oh, and it says your choice. So any preset I want. Sweet. Okay, let's do some cool stuff first. Let's do auto transform and see if it can straighten this photo out. Yes, it can. It's like Bob the Builder. Can you straighten it? Yes, I can. Yes, we can. Okay, so auto transform, it's a newer tool. Normally it's for architecture, so it's going to look for like straight lines like this and fix it. It's super, super handy. And somehow through the magic of Lightroom, it can straighten an image with no buildings or anything in it, and I love that. So great tool to use. It's in every pack. It's fantastic. Time saver. Okay, let's do Fuji Every Day. This is a really cool pack because it's kind of like Adventure Every Day in that it's got a very vivid look, a more muted look, and a black and white, but it just takes it in a different direction. And either of the packs that say every day are really for kind of everyday photos, in the sense that they're authentic, they're real, they're real life every day, and you can't go wrong in either one. So I think I'll pick Superia, or maybe C200. Well, it really depends. I think both look good. I'm gonna go with Superia. It's a little bit of a cleaner final image. C200 mutes the highlights a little bit. So, and that, for a lot of people, that's their bag. They like muted highlights, a little bit of lifted shadows. Then C200 is for you. I like kind of a cleaner punch with a Superior 400, so I'm going to go with that. But that's your basic Superior 400 edit. I love this film. That being said, let's just look around the image. I might increase the exposure just a tiny bit. I mean, not a lot. I find by increasing the exposure, you can unblock the shadows just a tiny bit. As far as like temperature and tint, I think the temperature looks pretty good. I'm going to look for tint now. And this girl's shirt, I believe, is gray, or it should be close to gray. And I'm going to look around and see if there's any other neutrals. These are jeans. They're not exactly neutral. This fence might be neutral. These rocks are probably neutral. I say it looks a little green, although I don't think I want their skin to go more magenta, but let's just see what happens. So just a tiny bit towards magenta. So this is before, and you can kind of see her shirt change. So it's a little bit green, and then we're gonna go just a little bit less green, and that should give you the best skin tones for this photo. It's so small, but it's better. It's cleaner. It's always better. You have to watch the tint video. You're a fool if you don't watch the tint video. You got to go back wherever you're watching this. Go into the library and find the tint video and watch it. It's the most important video we've made, I think, because the average person would just not zoom in, just look at it and go, okay, what does their skin look like? Is their skin too magenta or green? And then they're gonna fly around on the sliders, and then that combined with temperature, and you're gonna get totally lost and frustrated. And I swear to God, the cheat code, don't look at the skin. Don't look at the skin. If you're trying to get good skin tones, it's crazy. Don't look at the skin. Look for neutral, like here, or these rocks back here. Get those right, zoom back out, and the skin's gonna be like dynamite. It's gonna be perfect. So there is before and after. That is as classic as it gets for a fall session. So I think we're gonna end it there. It's like that episode of Seinfeld where George just tells a joke and everyone's laughing. He's like, all right guys, I'll see you later, I'm out of here. And he becomes president of the company, and he's only at the meeting for 30 seconds to tell his joke. So this is my George exit. This is a great family photo. You saw how easy it is to edit, and that's all it takes. To summarize everything about this video on editing family sessions is that the more you match the correct preset or pack with the look, the better the outcome will be. A lot of it is by trial and error, and a lot of it is just by watching the other 900 videos we've made where I dive into every pack and kind of explain the mood of it. But you'll find some nuggets in this video as to what should match with what. Yeah, so that's about it. I hope you enjoyed it. It's really fun to make these videos. We do them every week. You can find out more, especially if you are in the Mastin Labs community. If you're not already a member, you got to join. It is the place to be. Tons of free education, amazing work. We don't allow jerks in there. There's no show ponies or show offs or jerks. Not allowed. It's the friendliest community on the internet. Also, if you want to reach us, and the way you get there is go to Facebook and then just type in Mastin Labs community. Yeah, right there. Do that. Just check it out. It's amazing. And if you want to message us directly, you can also do that by going to m.me/Mastin Labs. Wait. Nope. That's all backwards. Okay. Okay. Right here. Right here. This is where you want to go. You can contact us. It's amazing. And we're happy to answer any of your questions. If you're seeing this on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell and all the buttons so you don't miss anything. And yeah, until then, thank you, community, for being awesome, sending us great work. It is the highlight of my week every week. And yeah, we can't wait to see what you do. So have a great day and happy editing.